State TV. I'm executive editor Michael Johnson. In 2013, the New York City passed paid sick days, a landmark piece of legislation that was strengthened in 2014 by Bill de Blasio. My next guest was an advocate for that bill. She is Nancy Rankin, the VP for Policy, Research, and Advocacy at the Community Service Society. And now she has her sights set on some legislation that's similar in Albany that you guys are going to be working through this session. And before we get to that, though, I wanted you to tell us a little bit about what Community Service Society does.
Community Service Society does research and advocacy to promote opportunities for low-income New Yorkers for upward mobility.
Great. And I know that you now are setting your sights on Albany because you think that you can get paid family leave implemented, but not as a separate bill, by amending a current bill or a current law that handles temporary disability insurance. So tell us a little bit about your strategy here.
Well, that's right. I mean, paid sick days was a great thing, but paid sick days is for routine illnesses. You have the flu, you need a couple of days off. But there are a few times in everyone's life when they have a need for a few weeks, when a new baby's born, when there's a serious illness in the family, a spouse has a stroke, a mother's dying of cancer, when you really need more time. And that's what family leave is for. And that's an insurance system. And the way we're proposing having it done is by modernizing the existing temporary disability insurance law that we already have in New York State.
And as you told me before the interview, that's a law that all small businesses already have to, and all businesses already have to apply by or conform to. So you're essentially, by amending that law, you're not adding more paperwork for them or anything like that.
Right. It's not a burden on business. This is something they're already familiar with. We already do it. If you notice, there's sometimes 60 cents deducted from your paycheck. That's covering disability insurance now. So it's something we already have. But it just is a little bit stuck in the past, and we need to modernize it to meet the needs of today's families.
And before we get to the cost of that, let's talk a little bit about some of the numbers. Right now, under temporary disability insurance, it maxes out at $170, and you're telling me that's because they haven't adjusted for inflation in a long time. So explain kind of the history behind that and what you guys think it should be.
It's a very long time, so it hasn't been increased for 26 years, since 1989, and it's really stuck in the past. Capping it at $170 is not adequate for anyone. When you look at other states, you see the averages is over $700. In California, it's over $1,000 is the cap. So it's just woefully inadequate.
And you guys want it to be up to about $600, correct?
We would like people to get 2/3 of their own average weekly wage and then cap it at 50% of the statewide average weekly wage. And 50% of that would be a little over $600 now.
Great, and that's roughly equivalent to what New Jersey does, correct?
Yes.
Great. And the cost that you guys say associate this would be 45 cents a week that would come out of people's paychecks for the first year, and then it would be adjusted going forward, maybe rising slightly as you go forward. I think people who are opposed to it would be like, this is just another tax on workers. But what you've done polling that shows that this has been very popular. So, tell us a little bit about what the poll results found, and when in those polls did people realize that this was going to be a small cost that went forward to their paychecks or got taken out of their paychecks?
Yes, in fact, with the way the question was asked, this was a Marist poll statewide, and we asked, what if sort of about $1 was deducted from your weekly paycheck? And people are enormously supportive of that. More than 7 out of 10, we see support across party lines. People think this is a bargain. This is a little bit of money, 45 cents, maybe rising to 88 cents gradually over 4 years. And for that, you get peace of mind, you get economic security when you have a baby, when a serious illness hits your family. So it's, people think it's well worth it. And we see actually that the support, we've done some more recent polls, and the support's been growing, but in particular, the intensity of support. So when this was, a decade ago, maybe 40% of the people said, I strongly support it. Now that's way over 2/3 people. almost everyone supports it, and 2/3 of the people strongly support it.
And I know, covering Albany for more than a decade, that getting anything done, you have to persuade lawmakers a lot of times one by one. You have to really get the Republicans in the state Senate probably to back this, because I know the Democrats in the Assembly have already supported this bill in previous years. What case do you and other advocates make to Senate Republicans? And I assume you'll be making trips to Albany to lobby them throughout the year. Yeah.
We will. I think this could be a really important legacy for the Senate and for the governor. This is a legacy issue. What do you want to be remembered for? That these are the most critical times in your life, when a new baby's born. You know, when there's a serious illness and you need to be beside your parent who's dying or needs your help desperately. And, you know, do you want to be able to take several weeks off to do that, to do what you know is right, without having to have a financial hardship and create a financial crisis for your family?
And do you think are you optimistic that this will move through this year, or is this maybe a longer term strategy? Do you think this is something that's going to take a little while to resonate with the Republican lawmakers in the state Senate and get passed, or also get the governor behind it?
We are optimistic, and I'll tell you why. Because first of all, President Obama gave us enormous momentum in his State of the Union address. He said he was urging the states to move forward, and he's looking for funds to help the states move forward. Secondly, New York is one of a handful of states that already has TDI in place, temporary disability insurance, and that's what California, New Jersey, Rhode Island used to create paid family leave in those states. So New York's poised to be next. We have a governor who cares about women's equality, women's economic security. You know, this should be something that he wants to do. And it won't add a dime to the state budget, which is great. It's entirely employee paid. And the administration's own Medicaid redesign team made this one of its top recommendations, because it's a way to improve health outcomes and save healthcare costs in the long run.
Well, Nancy Rankin from the Community Service Society, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great.